Hello and welcome to The Print. This is Ratan Priya, and I have with me Jaithirth Rao, retired entrepreneur and author. He's been a regular columnist with The Print, and today we are going to talk about the big BBC scandal, the latest one. So, Jerry, Tim Davie, the Director General, and the CEO, Deborah Tornes, resigned over the latest fiasco over the BBC about Trump's documentary edits and how doctored videos were used, and now he's going to use it to placate himself in the US and all. Do you think BBC is over now? Like, is it done for?
Well, it's certainly very badly mauled and hurt, even if it's not over.
Okay.
I think the problem with the BBC, as far as this one is concerned, is actually their response. Their response is, oh, it was a mistake. It was not a mistake. It was a deliberate hatchet job.
Yeah.
They deliberately spliced unrelated pieces of a speech and put it together in order to make um, Trump look as if he was inciting violence. And they released it just before the 2024 elections. So it is not only a deliberate hatchet job, you could even term it as election interference. So this is really bad because resignations without proper mea culpas, without appropriate apologies, without acknowledging the fact that it was a conscious, deliberate hatchet job meant to hurt Trump. And coming from a foreign media outlet, which over so many decades had built up a reputation
Yeah.
of being fair and impartial and credible.
Yes.
All of that is destroyed with
It
this.
is a big dent on the credibility, but the dents have been coming so far.
They have been.
This is the second panorama controversy, for example, and there have been before Tim and Deborah resigned. There was this other person who was accused in this misappropriation, some sexual predatory behavior, and then that person had to resign. So this is like there's been cases after cases. How do you think this case will figure in the larger scheme of BBC fiascos so far? Because it is just like what is this the death knell?
I think this gives a stand of
Yeah,
approval to those of us who, for some time,
yeah,
have been saying that the BBC has become almost a kind of laboratory for uh, extreme left, radical left ideology,
okay,
which is very, very selective in what it chooses to praise and what it chooses to criticize. And this one is so blatant, so obvious, and comes from within the external uh, committee or whatever
yeah,
that has been appointed to look at the BBC. So it's not somebody like you or I
yeah,
sitting far away
yeah.
throwing stones at the BBC. This is very much integral to the BBC's own processes.
Yes,
Uh, it's really sad, but it's the case that they are not. Forget about being neutral.
yeah,
They are not even um, vaguely um, uh, to the point of being uh, moderately balanced with a bias. No, they're extremely biased and given to mendacity and falsehood. To take two clips and put them together like the way they did it
hmm,
is falsehood. It's purveying falsehood. It's not um, a mistake, which is what that lady seems to have said.
yeah. So they are
To
trying
argue
to
that they are not biased
yeah.
is not fair and is not true.
Okay. So, like Deborah has tried to explain it as an editorial error of sorts, and the two of them have also not apologized for the error. Even the staff from BBC were expecting some sort of like you know, a solution to this. Something big has happened. So, what is the organization is going to decide for the organization? Organization heads are going to decide. There is nothing of that sort. Do you think this resignation is more symbolic, or like is trying to protect the organization rather than to correct what is going wrong
I
internally?
don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
But it seems to me it's not sufficient.
it's not
It's
sufficient.
completely insufficient. And it makes them more of a laughing stock than an organization which has been wounded and is trying to uh, make amends. They're
Hmm.
not making amends. Um, and so it looks bad. It's, uh, it's bad on every count.
What do you think it does to the credibility of journalism as a larger global?
Well, that I think has been an issue for some time now.
Okay.
Um, I think Barry Weiss, who left New York Times, started her own Substack stuff, and now is at CBS News.
Yeah.
She made an analysis of this some years ago. She said that the way the digital world has evolved, the old journalism model
Yeah.
where advertisers paid for space in the newspapers, including, most importantly, births, deaths, marriages, car sales, home sales, classified ads.
Yeah.
And then the newspaper or the media outlet produced relatively neutral news is gone because nobody advertises. If you want to rent a place, you're not going to put an ad in a paper or on a TV channel. You go into a specified internet channel that
Right.
does only home sales and home rentals.
Yes.
Uh, Similarly, marriages, you don't go to a matrimonial ad, you go to something matrimony.com.
Yeah.
Uh, so those ads are gone.
Hmm.
So, what is the business that comes? It has to come through subscriptions to the digital medium. And increasingly, you don't get free digital medium. Everywhere there's a firewall and you have to pay. Once that happens, that the news outlet depends on its readers paying, very soon the news outlets kind of do an internal market research. What do the readers want to hear? And start exaggerating that stuff and putting out that stuff. So if I'm New York Times and I conclude that most of my readers are left liberals, they want to hear a certain kind of thing, those are the only stories I put out. I
I get that.
deliberately suppress any anti left stories
Right.
or pro right stories because if I don't, what happens is that my subscribers will leave me.
So
So
the thing,
this has happened.
yeah, what you're trying to say, I get what you're saying, but the thing is that BBC, if BBC is being accused of favoring the left, and NYT, as you say, is being accused of favoring the left, which I don't think it is, because the coverage of Gaza war was not appreciated by the left. It was accused of its biases, the way the headlines were framed, the way the narrative was set against the people of Gaza and very pro Israel. Those were the allegations. I mean, these days, every other media outlet is dealing with this sort of allegation that you're favoring this sect, you're favoring this side. Do you think the polarization is the issue, other than how media organizations are turning left instead of that? What do you think is the issue?
No, I don't think it's the polarization. It is their business model of the media. Essentially, every one of my conservative friends in America
Yeah.
have stopped subscribing to the New York Times. The business model is that they're not paying you. The only people who are paying you are the left liberals, and therefore you have to do articles that favor that position. Occasionally, you might do a little bit on the other side,
Yeah.
but net, the position is one of um, taking one extreme or the other
Yeah.
and exaggerating it. And it particularly becomes interesting when you look at foreign coverage. When you look at domestic coverage, it's one way.
Which
But
way though?
like covering Russia, for instance, I don't think any major uh, Western media outlet, mainstream media outlet, I'm
Yeah.
not here talking about podcasts, every one of them shows Putin as a demon,
Okay.
as a Frankenstein, as a monster. There's not one which tries a balance there. There's not one which writes that Putin took a country which was in shambles, following the advice of Western economists. Yeltsin had taken Russia to the cleaners, and Putin turned it around. There's no mention of that. There's only mention that he's a Stalin rewrite, he's a Russian imperialist. Um, and then you can look at the way they cover India and they cover Modi also. Very similar. There's no balance to to it because their readers are not interested in a balanced coverage of Russia
Okay.
or of India. And since they are dependent directly on revenues to the readers, they are giving the readers what they want to hear or what they want to listen to or what they want to read.
I'm
Uh,
sure there are some outlets which are catering to the conservative side. For example, what do you think which newspaper do you think the conservatives are reading right now?
I think outlets in Britain are things like Spectator,
Okay.
maybe the Daily Telegraph to some extent, and there's Fox News. But even Wall Street Journal, if you notice, which is a right wing conservative outlet, on many foreign items, it remains extremely, it has become quite liberal and, in fact, leftish in its positioning. I think foreign stuff is less important for them. And therefore, it's okay to portray foreign countries in a negative or foreign leaders in a negative light because it sells to their subscription audience. Uh, whereas positive stories about foreign leaders will not sell that much. So I think they're just responding to their own market research and what they think will sell.
So what is a reader to do, a news reader to do? Where do you
I
go?
think readers are already choosing.
What are they choosing?
Look at this podcast. This is what people are going to watch. They're
Yeah.
not going to watch mainstream television
Yeah.
because they have the choice today, given the technological environment, they have the choice of choosing other things. I mean, somebody like Joe Rogan has an audience far bigger than
Hmm.
all the mainstream television channels put together. Put together.
But
So
is Joe Rogan more credible than all news channels put together?
yes, he is. Yes, he is. Because he has kind of pioneered. First of all, he does long stuff. He never does a 10-minute short clip. He'll do a 1 hour, 2 hour session. And he gets people from all sides and he does fairly open talk and he talks fairly normally. He's not pontificating, talking down to the audience,
But
which is what the
there
mainstream
have
media
been
does.
reports refuting his claims about his exaggerations as well. So
It's possible. I'm not saying he's a saint, but he has greater credibility than
okay.
all these jokers put together. That's the point. No, look. At the end of the day, this idea that there is something called unbiased, is a joke. Everybody is biased. We are human beings. We are not automatons. We do have biases, and institutions reflect the biases of the humans working there. But the question is, to what extent? Will you allow your bias to actually put out a lie, which is what the BBC has done? It's a lie that they have put out because of their bias. Or will you try to take the same facts, the truth, and spin it in a way to suit your bias, which I think is legitimate and many people do?
Where do you think Indian media figures in all of this debate?
I think by and large, Indian media is better.
Okay.
We have not fallen into these right and left extremes as much
Okay.
as uh, American, European, British, Australian, Canadian media have done. One. Number two, we are a very large country. So there will be a paper like Telegraph, which is only published in Calcutta and read there, or Hindu, which is largely read in South India. There are papers which have maybe limited circulation, but those points of view exist. And given technology, the editorial positions of those can get
Yeah.
sent out through the internet and
Yeah.
get widely known.
Yeah.
So that's a big plus we have in that. Whereas in the US, there's only four television channels, and they're all kind of headquartered in New York or LA. So there is no variety like we have here.
Yeah.
Number two, I think our people do not hide their biases. Uh, if you take, like,
I mean, some would say that BBC is also not trying to hide its
of
bias.
course not. They are all the time pretending that they are neutral and they are unbiased. Don't ever get taken in. BBCs are not only liars, they are systematically hypocritical liars.
Also, Jerry, I want to bring up how you wrote about BBC's bias in 2023 when the Modi documentary came out, and now this issue is all over again. I mean, it's been you called it 2 years ago, and your last message to your reader was we should just ignore the BBC. What do you think is your message now? Is do you stand?
Yeah. Going back to 2023,
Yeah.
that yeah, it actually broke my heart, that Modi documentary, because I have been a fan of BBC since like 1957 or something. I'm so old that dates me, okay? And I mentioned in that article that every single Shakespeare play that BBC has shown on TV, I have a DVD of that play, every single one of them. So I've been a big fan of BBC, and I think many Indians have been. We can never forget that Mulk Raj Anand and Naipaul and all were given shelter by the BBC. And BBC always had great credibility in India. And despite all the colonial hangover and so on, BBC was seen as relatively fair.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, that 2023 documentary on Modi was a hatchet job. It was not a documentary. It was a specific hatchet job. It never mentioned anywhere, you go through the whole thing, that communal Hindu Muslim riots are common in India. In fact, the first recorded communal Hindu Muslim recorded, before that, unrecorded, there must have been so many more, goes back to 1700 in Ahmedabad. It never kinds of mentions that these are quite common, the 1946 Great Calcutta killings, or the Kohat riots, or the Rawalpindi riots. It doesn't mention that. It never says this is part of it. Secondly,
This might be a sign of editorial collapse on the inside. Then, I mean, if it
no, it's deliberate. Don't be nice to them. It is deliberate. If you look at that documentary, it was meant to show somehow that the 2002 occurrences under Modi's rule was a standalone, separate, not in keeping with stuff, separate kind of plot or conspiracy or happening. That was the purpose of that documentary. If they had put the larger context in, that there was a program against Sikhs in 1984 in Delhi when Congress was ruling there, or we've had Hindu Muslim riots in Samastipur, Bhagalpur, Moradabad, Malyana, Meerut. In Ahmedabad in 1969, more people died than in the 2002 riots in all of Gujarat. Now, forget Ahmedabad alone. So, but there was no attempt to set the context, and that was deliberate. They wanted to show Modi and Gujarat under Modi as a specific outlier, as of a one of a kind event. Then they refused to look at any of the legal issues. This is the only riot, and as I said, I'm an old man from 47 till now. If you want, in fact, you can go further back. You can go back to
I think
1905
I
till
think
now.
we can
There
just
have
go
been
back to
hundreds of riots. This is the only riot where the Supreme Court appointed a special investigating team. And the only riot, not Malyana, not Moradabad, not Samastipur, not Nagpur, not Bhiwandi, not Jalgaon. This is the not Kiravand Money. This is the only riot where a sitting chief minister was interrogated by the police, and he willingly and volitionally cooperated with it. That is also not covered.
Yeah, since we are running out of time, we need a lot more time on our hands to discuss Gujarat riots as it should be. So how about we just come
No,
back?
we're not talking about the riots. We're talking
Yeah.
about the documentary
Yes.
and the BBC's. Uh, it does hatchet jobs on foreign
How
leaders.
does this latest
Have you seen
hatchet
any positive coverage of Viktor Orban in BBC? Never. It's not, these are all hatchet jobs orchestrated against specific foreign leaders who don't fit the left's Weltanschauung. That's what the BBC
you
does.
think this time it's going to pay because Trump can sue BBC and has threatened to?
I don't know. I hope he does. And I hope they go bankrupt and I hope they go out of business. Look at Leicester. In Leicester, not a single uh, Muslim shop or house was attacked. All the attacks were on Hindu businesses, shops, and houses. And yet, it was portrayed by BBC as a kind of riot between Hindus and Muslims because of a cricket match. So they do this all the time.
Yeah.
And I do hope they go out of business because it's really sell by date is over for them.
You really believe that?
Yeah, I do. I do. In any case, they've stopped producing good Shakespeare plays and so on. So they're not, and we have enough elsewhere. Internet and technology has made much more available.
So say that
We don't need them.
relevant.
Huh?
It's now irrelevant as far as the news.
Yeah. News, though, it's irrelevant. But even non news programs, whether it be it sports or entertainment or annual, their music programs, festivals that they do, even that is becoming a little, irrelevant. So I do hope they go out of business.
But it would be a bittersweet thing for you.
Isn't it? Isn't it? If you've grown up with it, Mark Tully, we've all kind of, Tully Saab has been an object of respect for all of us. Even Rajiv Gandhi, when his mother died, says, check with Tully, check with BBC. They will give the true news. And Tully's coverage of the entire Blue Star and so on. Charles Allen. Charles Allen's brilliant stuff on India. All that are now just part of nostalgia. It's like I'm nostalgic for my childhood, but I ain't getting it back. I'm going to grow older and die. And I think BBC is now about in its death throes.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for talking to me.
Not at all. Not at all.
Enriching conversation.
Okay. I enjoyed it.